bushing is because it's out of gas. Fancy trick flow rockers. Side piece of the bushing moves and the outside doesn't. And when everything's clamped down, this outer edge of the bushing ends up rubbing on the surface of the... Hey everybody, thanks for watching. This video is kind of a mashup of a few different afternoons of work where we were kind of just doing different things to both Parker's Mustang and to my LS Swap Caprice. We're getting both cars ready to go on Power Tour West, which at the time I'm recording this is just over a week away. Tons of little things left to do on the cars. I got most of what I needed to do done on my car. We got the big things knocked out on Parker's car. Both cars are definitely going. They're definitely ready to go the way they are. But there's still a million little things that may or may not get done before the trip that I'd really like to get done on both of them. So this video is just kind of a mashup of different days that we did stuff. It's not as cohesive as I would like it to be, but I still think most of it's pretty entertaining, and I hope you enjoy it. Definitely check back next week. I'm going to have another video a little bit more put together on the state of the cars, getting ready for Power Tour, heading into Power Tour, and then next week I'm hoping to upload a short video every night of Power Tour. So that'll be Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, or maybe Saturday morning, Sunday morning, Monday morning. Not sure yet, but I'm definitely going to have something for you guys. And then the following week, I'm going to have tons and tons of content. Going to be tons of great stuff on Power Tour. I'm super excited. Going to film everything, and that'll be a lot of video. All right, guys, we are doing a test and tune today on Parker's car. We're going to drive the car. We're going to tune it. We're going to dial some things in with the idle a little bit better. So we had an issue last time we drove the car where the car wanted to idle at like 2,500 RPM randomly. It didn't do it all the time, but it did it a lot of the time. And I believe, since we did a little AFR tuning before and some stuff, I believe that that is related to the idle air control ramp down. It's the settings in the Poly Sniper software where it controls bringing the idle back down to, bringing the RPM back down to idle when you get off the gas, when you get on the brake, anything like that. So it was holding at 25%, at 24% throttle position, or idle air control position. So I brought that down to 18%. We're going to change one thing at a time and just play with it and see what happens. So after a little bit more investigation, what I think is going on is we did some AFR tuning last time, and it was running super rich before, too rich. So with it running happier, a little leaner, quite a bit leaner actually, and a little happier, it idles higher, and it no longer wants to return to idle with the settings the way that they were because it has too much air to start with. So with the hold position air that the idle air control provides, we just had way too much air, way too much air. So we adjusted the idle position. The idle air control is now hovering at around 7%, which is basically what you want on a Poly Sniper, is between 5 and 10%. Some people like it like between 2 and 5%. I like it between like 5 and 10%. Under 10% is what Holly tells you want to have. So I'm actually going to put that setting back at 24. We're going to see if we can get it to hang with it at 24, the idle to stay high at 24. I don't think we'll be able to now. And if we can't, then we're going to call it good. We've looked for a vacuum leak. I can't find one anywhere. So I think this is just purely a tuning issue. It was running not great before, and it's running significantly better now. Back at Parker's Mustang. Today we are doing a valve lash adjustment. I'm kind of excited to do this. I've never messed with modern poly locks before. Certainly not on anything like this. I've adjusted Chevys, which just have a interference fit nut on them. So I'm super excited to do this. We have just a little bit of valve train noise that we think is just the new push rods and lifters kind of setting in, wearing in for the first time. It's a roller cam. We're really not worried about a flat cam or anything. This thing runs great. Just kind of sounds like a sewing machine some of the time. So we're going to readjust the lifters, and you'll see that right now. I got this valve cover pulled off. So Those fancy trick flow rockers. And I'm gonna pop the other side off and we'll get to adjusting this. Valve cover's off. What we're gonna do is we're gonna adjust for 0 lash so that right when it gets hard to turn these, that's where we're gonna set the adjustment. Some of these are pretty easy to turn just with the way it's sitting. We have to go through a firing order on the engine to make sure that they're all at the right part of the cam. But we are going to knock that out. Got the lash all set on this side. We're doing exhaust first while the intake valve is compressed, and then when the exhaust valve is compressed, we do the intake, and we've done all of this side. I'm gonna jump to the other side. Using the starter motor makes this a lot easier. Turns out the fuel gauge does work and we're basically out of gas. It's also started backfiring out of nowhere, which we're hoping is because it's out of gas. Like really hoping. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I'm Nick. Some of you have seen my 1988 Caprice LS swap project. I'm finishing up a few things on it today. I have my AC gauges out. I'm going to be charging the air conditioning system. I'm going to be hooking it up to the Holly to make sure that the fans run the entire time that the AC is on. I'm doing a bunch of other little things. Today. I put a breather over here on this valve cover. I might hook something up for this valve cover to breathe a little bit better. I think my rear main is leaking just when I'm like at wide open throttle or on the throttle a lot. I got a little bit of electrical I want to touch up on the air conditioning. Going to be charging the air conditioning using some using some canned duster. I'm going to be charging the air conditioning using some canned duster. This stuff is known as R152A. It's a product very similar to R134A. It's made to be released to the environment, so any loss that I have, I won't be super worried about. Technically, if you use anything as refrigerant, you're supposed to collect it, but this stuff is made to be released to the environment. It has virtually no environmental impact, so that's what I'm going to be using. One of the last things I'm going to be knocking out today is the installation of my QA1 upper control arms on the rear of the car. And I've got some cheap lower control arms on the car. I really wanted to have something decent on the top end. These have a Delrin lined spherical bearing of some sort at the end that goes in the frame. The other end is the same size as the stock control arm. And QA1 provides a polyurethane bushing, which I'm going to be making a little touch up to in order to prevent squeaking. I'm going to show you that right now. So polyurethane gets a bad rap for squeaking, and I've definitely had that experience with it as well. Two things tend to happen to cause that. One, this inner sleeve needs to be just a touch longer, in my opinion, than the bushing material itself. And on this QA1, actually, it appears that it is. It's probably less than a 1/16 of an inch longer, but it is longer. The other issue, and you can see it better on this one, the other issue is these are kind of cupped. This is kind of a concave surface on the top, and that is probably a result of either the bushing being pressed too hard into this housing, or possibly the bushing cooled after being machined, and it ended up with that shape. So what I'm going to be doing to prevent that, what happens when that's the case is the inside piece of the bushing moves and the outside doesn't. And when everything's clamped down, this outer edge of the bushing ends up rubbing on the surface of the control arm or frame, depending on what your application is. So I've got my DA sander. I'm going to put a 60 grit pad on there, and I'm just going to kind of smooth this out so it's nice and level. Then tons of grease on the inside of the bushing. I've got the energy suspension grease that's made for polyurethane bushings. QA1 did supply some grease, but I'm probably going to use a generous amount of the energy suspension stuff because I've had really good luck with that. And hopefully this will keep the rear end of the car from going all over the place. Hopefully that doing all of this will keep the rear end of the car from going all over the place as I'm trying to drive it down the track. All right, guys, I didn't record as much as I should have, but I got a few things done today. I did some wiring cleanup in here. A little more to do, not much. I got this thing so that it is charging. It runs down the factory Twilight Sentinel hole. The Twilight Sentinel hasn't worked the whole time I had the car, so I don't really care about fixing it, at least not at this point. Generally cleaned up the interior decently. I got some clothes and stuff. I installed some coil spring spacers in the rear. I don't know if you'll be able to, well, not from this angle. I don't know if you'll be able to see those up there at all. Probably not, really. But what those have done is they don't allow the bottom couple coils of the spring to compress all the way. And so we gained a little bit of height. And the height gain, honestly, is probably still pretty much perfect. It's tucked. Not as much. If it doesn't settle too much more, I'll probably just leave the car, honestly, probably just like this. Kind of like the front to go down just a hair. But this is survivable. I have a little tiny, like, oil leak or something towards the front of the engine. Not sure exactly where that's coming from. It might be, could be power steering. But I got that done. The QA1 control arms are on there. The car feels solid. I checked all the other bushings back here when I was doing it. So now I feel like I can get the car in alignment. Pretty stoked. QA1 control arms were the big thing. I hooked up the vent hose to the gas tank so that it'll stop dumping fuel when the tank's full. It was sloshing fuel out the vent line, the vent / evaporative emissions line. Got a ton of stuff done. Pretty stoked. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. Definitely come back and check out what we have going on, getting ready for Power Tour and going into Power Tour next week. I'm super excited to share all that with you. Both our cars are running pretty good. Parker's car needs some tuning, has a few kinks left to work out. But overall, I'm pretty happy with what we've gotten done, and we are Power Tour ready.